for a championship!
A double play, wins it from Frazier. Turn it to the end zone. What a catch! It's on touchdown.
Into the layup, goes at the buzzer.
Elijah wins it, the championship.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Kyle Smith along with Michelle Tantillo. It's 7:25 p.m., which means it's about some time for some IHSA flag football. It's the first season of this for the state series. Michelle, third game of our quadruple header. It's Willowbrook, the team hosting the tournament. This is their game, 21-5 on the season. They have a tough opponent, though, Whitney Young at 17-6. The good news for Willowbrook, their best player on offense, their quarterback, is arguably their best player on defense. She had 4 picks in that round of 16 game in addition to her 2 touchdown passes.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what we get tonight for this game. Whitney Young certainly coming out strong, making it here. They've been able to play in the Chicago League for a few years. Willowbrook, I know, is not a new team as well. Everybody's new to the IHSA State Series, but some teams have had a few more years under their belt, or underneath their flag belt, so to say.
You know, it's a really interesting article by Shaw Local, and it starts with Willowbrook High School was the ideal place to watch high school level flag football on September 28th. It was a cold, windy, gloomy late morning, early afternoon, and it was ideal football weather. It's changed. The girls get to play football now for the state championship, and it's awesome. It grew from 100 teams to now 170, 154 teams in the state series. We're now down to under 6. A lot of fun games. 2 things that the defenses have to know, Michelle. Number 1, when you're up by a lot of points or up by 6 and they have to go the length of the field, don't let those receivers get behind you. And number 2, when it's 4th and more than 20, just knock the ball down.
It's hard. They were certainly going for it. They were trying in that last game. I would say the biggest piece that they got to work on both sides for defense is definitely make sure that nobody gets behind you and get the pulls. Don't miss those flags. Don't let them slide through your fingers.
Willowbrook Junior Marley Smurf, she plays every position, quarterback, wide receiver, and safety. She is the straw that stirs the drink. And for Whitney Young, what kind of answers are they going to have on the defensive side of the ball? What kind of advantages, by the way, does Willowbrook have playing on their home field?
Well, that's certainly going to be a big part. They're going to have fans present. It's very kind of them to be hosting this, and so I know that there's also been pieces with that as well. The team I coached for, Prospect High School, we held regionals, and we still lost at home, unfortunately, so it could go either way, home field advantage or not.
Is there anything about having more games, having more of a sample size to see other defense, see what works and doesn't work for defense? You have 26 total games for Willowbrook to just 23 for Whitney Young.
Those are pretty close in terms of number of games. There's kind of 2 ways that you can think about it. One is that if you have a lot of games in your season, you're playing 2-3 games a week. That means you don't have a lot of recovery time. You don't have a lot of time to make adjustments during the week for the next game. That also means, though, that you are experienced in seeing a lot more things happening on the field. So it could go either way. It depends on the team, the players, the coaching staff, on what they're able to kind of gather and install in those small breaks, or keep the energy up for the players.
This is a Willowbrook team. They throw it to a lot of different people, but the 2 people to watch out for is Macias as well as Langston. Langston with 196 receiving yards, 337 for Macias, and Pettinger with 15 catches for 240. For the Whitney Young Dolphins, the Dolphins are in the white and orange, Willowbrook in the dark blue and black jerseys. For Whitney Young, they have 2 different quarterbacks. They run a 2-quarterback system. Petrulis played in 13 games, Lang with 10. For receiving the ball, how about this, partner? 82 catches for Dudley.
Wow.
41 for Matalana and 37 for Plachta. So this is a high-flying offense. Can they play defense? They do have 6 losses on the season.
Yeah, to have only a couple of targets like that could either mean that those are really strong targets that you can get the ball to, or that means that defense is going to be able to cover or, block for that one individual a little bit better with that knowledge.
Who do you like in this one, Willowbrook or Whitney Young?
I think I'm going to have to take Willowbrook. Yeah, I'm going to take Willowbrook.
I agree. It's hard to believe with that highly talented quarterback / safety in Smurs that there's going to be enough of an answer, both offensively and defensively, since Smurs plays on both sides of the ball, that Whitney Young's going to be able to answer. Plus, the Warriors playing on their home field, it's definitely going to factor into it. But you know what? Whitney Young is here for a reason, and so we'll find out. The first two games, the first one, Fremd had the better record. They won. Perspectives. We're going to talk about that after the national anthem. It was one heck of a game, and it's going to be remembered for both teams for one reason. But we're going to have the national anthem. We're going to take a 1-minute break. You're watching the Dolphins against the Warriors here on NFHS Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, before our national anthem, we ask you to stand if able. Remove your hats and remember our veterans and honor the men and women of the United States Armed Forces serving throughout the world with this moment of silence. Please remain standing as we honor America with the playing of our national anthem.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets round the line, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Wow, excellent rendition of the national anthem. That young lady's going places.
Sidelined by an illness this season. Get care quickly and stay in the game.
Meanwhile, Willowbrook facing off against Whitney Young. For people that aren't familiar with flag football, here's how it goes. Here's the spark notes of the cliff notes. 1st and 20 mostly, although if there's a punt, for example, and you're tackled or the flag is taken outside the 20, 40s, or 20s, it becomes a 1st and short situation until you get to the 40-yard line. So, for example, if you tried to return a punt and it landed at the 38, it would be 1st and 2, and then once you got past the 40, then it would be back to 1st and 20 at the 20. So it's 1st and 20 from the 20, 40, the opposing 40, and the 20. No field goals, no extra points. If after you score a touchdown, you can go for a 1-pointer at the 5-yard line or a 2-point conversion at the 8-yard line. There are no field goals. There are no PATs. The field goal kicker cannot bail you out tonight.
Correct. And the game is fast, running clock until we hit that 1-minute mark. And you'll see that that will play definitely a role in the game. Is there clock left? Is there not clock left? Do we need to waste time? Are we trying to save time? That will certainly come into play.
In terms of the quarterbacks, here are the numbers. Smurs does not turn the ball over. 16 touchdowns and just 2 picks. They used Mettinger earlier in the year. She had 20 touchdowns to 0 picks. For Whitney Young, they do turn the ball over. They've used 2 quarterbacks this year, Petrulis and Lang, 19 interceptions to 33 touchdowns. Their best quarterback is definitely Petrulis, 27 touchdowns to 14 picks. We talked about Dudley, Matalana, and Platchdup. Also Rubenstein with 27 catches for 209 yards. This is a defense. They're very good defensively, Michelle. Surprisingly, even though it's hard to sack the quarterback, they have 17 sacks on the year, including 14 from Hamilton.
All you need is someone fast, and clearly Hamilton has that speed coming from 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage, getting to the quarterback.
In terms of sacks for Willowbrook, their best defender on the D-line, that's Bernardo with 5 sacks, also Adams with 3. In terms of interceptions, Smurs with 9, Rieger with 6. And for Whitney Young, if they're going to make a big play defensively, interceptions, 8 for Lloyd and 6 for Glover. So those are the players to watch out for here on the IHSA quarterfinals, brought to you by NFHS Network. We know our first semifinal, it's going to be Bradley Bourbonnais against Frem. How Bradley Bourbonnais won that game is something they're going to talk about for years to come. Conversion on 4th and 28. It seemed like the entire Perspectives defense was around the ball, but it was somehow converted. Then a 35-yard completion from Munster, and that did it. They converted then a 2-point conversion, and they won 22-20. So hopefully you would think that Willowbrook and Whitney Young, they've seen the film of these 2 previous games. 2 lessons to be learned. Number 1, if it's more than 4th and 20, knock the ball down. Number 2, when a team needs more than a 50-yard completion, don't let their wide receiver get behind you.
Absolutely. Well, it's a beautiful evening for some Friday Night Lights.
Number 7, sophomore Carson Rieger.
This is pretty cool. Even though it's just the quarterfinals, I like how they introduce the entire team. This is something that they don't always do in other IHSA sports, but it being the first year of flag football, they're doing it. It's a lot of fun. I think this sport's just going to grow and grow and grow, and hopefully every school will have flag football in the next 3 years.
I think that's definitely the trend. There's certainly a lot of youth and park districts that are growing teams. Illinois Wesleyan just announced that they're going to have a women's flag team. So I think they're the 4th in the state of Illinois in terms of universities to bring in that team. We're going to be playing in the Olympics, flag football, a little different in terms of some of the rules, the size of the field, 5 players versus our 7, but the heart of the game is the same. This is the future of football, and it's female.
It's fun. It's like one of those sports that you enjoy. You don't have to interact with it for more than an hour. It goes by really fast. Also fun to watch. I mean, we thought the game was over. It's 4th and 28, and Bradley Bourbonnais said, "Not so fast, my friend." And everybody's in it. And you know what? When you're only down by 1 point, the game's still not over yet because the field goal kicker can't bail you out.
Right. A lot of people, I'm not I'm a fan of baseball, but it's a little slow for me. And so since getting involved in coaching flag football, tackle football, NFL is starting to feel really slow in terms of a game for me. So, yeah.
For people that don't think field goal kickers are that important in football, here's a stat for you. The first 3 Super Bowls that Tom Brady won, they were all won by 3 points. So you can make the argument that his field goal kicker won him 3 Super Bowls. He didn't, but that's how important the field goal kicker is in football in the NFL. It's part of the game. Not part of the strategy for flag football because you can't use them.
Correct, and so the strategy is just getting in the end zone and continuing to get in the end zone, whether you're going for those extra points of 1 or extra points of 2. And the philosophy behind that, are you going to go for 2 and get your whole playbook? Or are you going to go for 1 and be a little closer to the end zone?
Teams mostly like to go for 2. The higher seed is Willowbrook at 21-5, so it's Whitney Young calling for it. Want to get off to a fast start, Michelle, because you don't have that many possessions. It goes by very fast. Remember, you don't convert on 1st and 10. You got to convert on 1st and 20, so it does take time to move the ball down the field.
Yeah, it seems like with the fewer number of players at first, you think there's no way that you can get 7 players down the field. It's just too big of a field, and that's not even close to the case.
This is a Willowbrook team. They're good on both sides of the ball. We talked about Bernardo.
Willowbrook
She does
won
track
the
and
toss.
volleyball at Willowbrook. And how about this? She was a 10-year veteran of gymnastics, so she's a four-sport athlete. A lot of athleticism on Willowbrook. How will Whitney Young counteract that? We'll see. They have struggled with the turnovers with those 19 picks. Hard to beat a good Willowbrook team when you keep throwing interceptions.
First and 20, Whitney Young from their own 20.
It's all going to come down to if the teams, both sides of the ball, the defense can respond to the offense on the other side, and if you can make those big plays against the defense.
You know, you talked about this is football. That's what Rachel Karros has been telling her players. This is football. So get excited for it.
Looks like Whitney Young is going to start with the ball.
For Whitney Young, number 8, Hayden Petrulis.
Get ahead, stay ahead, right? It seems like we've seen the team that gets ahead. Perspectives, they scored to make it 6-0. They played a little stagnant in the second and third quarter, but after that they started to play a little bit better. And the first game, Friend was the first team to score, and they made it 12-0, and then they gave up 13 unanswered points, and things were getting interesting if you were a Frem fan, but then they scored and then got the 2-point conversion. But here we go, first in 20 at the 20. Blitzing is hard, Michelle, because you got to start 7 yards back.
Unless you have someone pretty athletic, they can fly right in there, kind of take the quarterback off guard.
This is very much a quarterback-friendly game, but still getting the ball out quickly. Still part of the game. You wait too long, it allows the safeties and linebackers to get to the spot.
And sometimes that rush on the quarterback is not just to pull the flag, but to just get in their face, block the ball.
And remember, you can't always run the ball. If it's 4th and 5, that cannot be a running play. Got to pass.
And once you hit that no-run zone, you can't exit the no-run zone until you get the first down.
Nice run, but reading it well is Willowbrook. Might be a full house, by the way. A lot of Willowbrook fans here today.
You would hope so. They're on their home field.
And center gets the ball for the Dolphins.
From their own 24.
Clean snap. Looks downfield. It's to the center. A little crossing pattern. And
Petrulis pass
Nice quick
complete
pull
to
from
Aaron
Willowbrook.
Alonda.
I'm really excited for our final game of the quadruple header. Are they going to say incomplete or not a first down yet? That's what the signal is. 3rd and 5. Cannot run the ball here, but you could do a shovel pass.
Has to just be forward, yep.
Or the little sidearm thing that Mahomes and Stafford like to do. One in motion for the Dolphins. And nice little drop-off pass past the 40. Now, she tackled her, Michelle. Is that going to be unsportsmanlike conduct?
Petrulis pass complete to Dee Dudley.
They're going to say it's incidental. Interesting.
If you were the ref, would you have called
Mary
unsportsmanlike conduct?
Sutton on the stop.
I didn't watch how the whole play developed. I was looking elsewhere on the field.
Legal shift, anyways.
And that's maybe why they...
It sure looked like somebody was a little jumpy at the line of scrimmage. But
Illegal motion
it's not a
against
dead ball,
Whitney
so if they had
Young.
called unsportsmanlike plus the illegal shift, it would have been offsetting penalty.
It's a 5-yard
Correct,
penalty.
correct.
So a break for Willowbrook. They didn't call the unsportsmanlike conduct.
Sometimes what looks like a tackle is really just two players running into each other, and that is what that looked like.
5 wide receiver set. Clean pocket for Petrulis. Looks downfield. She's open. And she had it, then she didn't, then she had it again. Here she goes. Past the 30, past the 20, near the 15, and a beautiful pass by Petrulis. It was such a nice pass. She had to come back for it. She wasn't entirely ready for it.
If it wasn't for that bobble, she would have maybe been already clear from the defenders too. So Willowbrook, I guess, saved a couple yards on that one.
Petrulis to Mayhay.
So Mayhay on the catch.
It'll be 1st and goal. From the Willowbrook 15.
This game shifts in an instant.
Everything about flag football is fast. Yep.
They're going 5 wide receiver set tonight are the Dolphins. In the pocket is Petrulis. Petrulis, here comes the rush. Open woman. As she gets it over to Ray. Ray inside the 10. And they got her flag, but not before she gains a decent amount of yards. It'll be second and manageable. Second and goal. Remember, two-point conversions are tougher than you think. You got to be 8 yards back, but you can run the ball if you're at the 8.
Willowbrook's going to have to adjust. They seem like they've had a couple where they can dump off to that person about 5-7 yards ahead. Too close to the end zone for that.
They're right at the goal line to try to get rid of that flag. Clean pocket, easy drop-off pass to the end zone. Touchdown, and it's awarded for Ray. That was really easy.
Petrola's pass complete.
One big pass to Marzani Lambert, and then Ray with the touchdown. 6-0 Dolphins.
It's not 6-0 Dolphins. I think it's on the 2.
There we go. They're gonna say that they got her at the 3. That's really surprising. I thought she was in, but they said that they got her flag before the ball crossed the pylon. So here we go. 3rd and 2 at the 2. You could do a quarterback sneak if you want, but remember the center cannot block for you.
She can't because she can't run. She's too close to the end zone.
Oh, that's right.
For
All
the
right.
run zone.
So 4th and goal.
And that's part of the challenge, part of the coaching, part of the play calling is when you lose that ability to run.
You know what you could do here, Michelle? It's 4th and goal at the 2. You could just do an underhand pass to your center.
That is if they don't block it. Willowbrook looks pretty stacked right there in the middle. They certainly have a strong goal line defense.
Or just get it to your fastest, slippery person on the edge, a little screen pass, and just see if they can get in. 2-yard screen pass. 4th and goal at the 2. Clean pocket. Petrolas to the end zone. Nice catch. Oh, my goodness. The athleticism shown by Maya Ray there. So it looked like they scored. The ref said, hold on a second. A couple plays later, they finally score on 4th and goal. And let's see if they go for 2 or 1.
They're going to go for 2.
Whitney Young will attempt a 2-point conversion.
A lot of teams will go for 2 to, again, keep the whole playbook open. It's not unusual to see that. Teams usually only go for the 1 if there's a strategic move or if they've really run up the score.
Petrolas with a clean pocket. Here comes the rush to the end zone. Dropped it. Got to have both hands out at all times, Carter. It's just so hard to, when your hands aren't ready, to try to catch the ball from a stagnant position.
In the first half, the score.
6-0.
Dolphins 6.
Well, Willowbrook better wake up early because Whitney Young is ready to go.
They're definitely ready to go. They took the field quick after. They understand time management.
See what Smurs and this Willowbrook team.
1st and 20 for Willowbrook from their own 20.
They've had a lot of losses, but they're playing on their home field. We got the cheerleaders here tonight for both teams. This is exciting. Clean pocket for Smurs. And she's still on her feet. And did they finally get her flag? Let's see where they spot this.
First pass complete.
Just keep going until they tell you to stop.
Exactly. You can hear the little pops from the flags getting pulled, but it's always better just keep running until they say no.
2nd and 4.
2nd and 4. See what they want to do here. 1 in motion. Takes the handoff, and oh boy. Right in the breadbasket, dropped it.
Looks like it might be a little slippery out there. Probably the temperature is causing it to be a little dewy, a little slick on the turf.
It'll be 3rd.
It's a Willowbrook team led by head coach Rachel Karros. Nick Hildreth, Terrence Miller, and Deontay Ellis over the middle. Still on her feet, and then finally got the flag. That was a nice hurry-up offense by Smurs and the Willowbrook Warriors.
Nino Lloyd on the stop for Whitney Young.
Well, Willowbrook was tested. Whitney Young took their opening possession down the field, but Willowbrook answering.
For Willowbrook.
1st and 8. Handoff. Slippery. Still on her feet. Fumble. Now, was she down before she fumbled? I think she was.
I think they had the flag before.
Janelle Adams on the carry.
Even if the player does fumble in flag football, it's not that the ball's done or that the play turns over or anything. It's just wherever the ball hits,
Right.
or where their knee hits.
1st and 20 at the 40, one in motion. Are they going to run the reverse? They will. And this is snuffed out well by the Dolphins. Flag on the play. Are they going to call flag guarding, or are they going to call
No,
unsportsmanlike?
I think they're going to call holding. They were
No.
pulling on the jersey too much. There's definitely an attempt of going for the flag, but when you know you have a jersey, you have to let go. And I think that was just a little bit too long that they were holding on.
So the intensity has picked up tonight. We saw an inadvertent tackle and then too much touching of the shirt instead of the flag.
This is flag football at its finest.
It's fun.
2nd and 8. The Whitney Young
2nd and 8 at the 28. Smurs with a clean pocket, a little drop-off pass. And she dives for the first down marker. They got the flag, though.
Yeah, they're going to call it just short.
First pass complete to Mackenzie Edison.
So Addison credited with the reception. 3rd and short, cannot run the ball because it's less than 5 yards.
3rd and 2.
You can see the Whitney Young person really hold up that flag to show that she had it. That's important to do.
Show the ref, you know. Sometimes you can confuse the ref. They think the ball was one way. You show the flag, maybe the ball comes back a half yard. 3rd 2. See if they do a nice little quick pass. Clean pocket for Smurs. Wide open. That's the one problem with zone defense, Michelle. You know more than I do since you're a defensive coordinator. You do a zone look, that's fine, but there are holes in it.
Correct. Unless you're able to pull up those holes or be aware. You know, this is the first time that Whitney Young is watching Willowbrook march down the field, and so hopefully they can recover and, make adjustments throughout the rest of the game.
Smurs, so much time to throw, wide open, touchdown. That's one way to answer, going right down the field, 80 yards. Smurs, who plays on both sides of the ball, that time offensively with a touchdown pass, 9 yards out, 6-6.
Again, they're going to try for 2.
Touchdown, Willowbrook Warriors. Willowbrook will attempt the 2-point conversion.
They've been thrown a lot, though, so we still might see that. So much time to throw. Smurs to the end zone. She's open. Little high. Did she get it? Nope, she got it. Oh, they're going to say she got it.
Wow. That's definitely a hard angle from here to see, but excellent catch.
It looks like she had it and then dropped it and then somehow got it back just before it hit the turf. It's like a 2-point swing. It goes from 6-6 to 8-6, and if you're Whitney Young, you give up the touchdown. Well, at least we're tied. Well, not so much. Now we're down 2. Could it be one of those 50-40 games?
Yeah, I'm used to the sideline view. This is hard from up here.
Drop-off pass. It's completed to Lang. 2nd and 14. This is Whitney Young, the woman in the white and orange, trying to advance to the semis. They play the winner of Lane Tech and Guilford. Guilford trying to maintain their undefeated record. They're 19-0. Over the middle.
Ooh.
Was there contact? Yep.
Yep.
It was so blatant that Willowbrook's not even arguing it. You know you cheated when you don't even argue your case.
The coaches look a little upset.
I mean, it's part of being a coach, right? Even when you know the ref made the right call, it's part of your part of the job description, right? To argue with the ref.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to call a timeout to talk about it.
It was clearly pass interference, though.
Timeout, Whitney Young.
So Whitney Young.
Game is sponsored by OSF.
They didn't like something on offense, so they're going to talk to their offense here. They're down 8-6, Michelle. Offense has not been the problem. Defense, a little bit shaky. It was really easy for Smurs to get that ball down the field to her wide receivers.
Well, both teams were able to march down the field. It's really the only difference in the score is because of a missed 2-point. And so I can see where both teams are trying to just adjust so that there isn't another march down the field.
and athletes
Today's game is
everywhere.
also available for all subscribers via the NFHS Network Live mobile app for Apple and Android devices. Download the app from the Apple App Store or Google Play Store today to start watching live games wherever you are. You are watching live coverage of the IHSA Girls Flag Football Tournament on the NFHS Network. NFHSnetwork.com/IHSA.
For Whitney Young from their own 48.
So it'll be 1st and 12 after the flag. Remember, clock continues to run until we get to the 1 minute mark. And this should be a false start against the
Flag
Dolphins.
on the play. Offsides against Whitney Young.
Very rarely do you see offsides against the offense in boys football, but in girls football you'll see it. 1st and 17. Also stops the clock.
Refs have been the ones who've been calling the stopping of the clock. That's not a usual thing, or that's at least not something that's been through the rest of the season. So maybe that's just a playoff shift that the refs are being more cognizant of. How much time could be spent on penalties?
Clock management is important. Make sure the refs and the person running the Jumbotron are on the same page.
From their own 41.
2nd and 19. Wasn't a great pass. I think there might have been lack of communication in the huddle. They didn't seem to be on the same page there.
That'll be 3rd down.
Yep.
For Whitney Young
3rd 19.
from their own
I don't know, Michelle, what do you want to run here?
41.
I don't know, anything that will get them deep. They need to get all the way to the 40 for a 1st down. Otherwise, they're going to have to punt.
Try to get to
So
your
probably a bigger pass play, but if you have someone fast, run could potentially work too. Looks like they're going to go more for a pass here.
Matalana, 17. Watch out for her on the edge. Pump fake. Bad pass, but even if it was on stride, it would have been very short of the 1st down.
Yeah, they're going to have to punt.
One would think, but Dan Campbell has proven me otherwise.
Yeah, the ref is signaling that they called punt.
Yeah, okay. Now, can you do a hard count to try to draw him offside?
No.
Okay.
Marcelo Matalana back deep to punt.
Once they line
for
up here
Whitney Young.
like this, there's well, first off, that wouldn't get them enough yards anyways, but
Right. At least you'd be closer if you wanted to reconsider to convert. But
everybody has to just stand still till the ball is kicked.
Harley Spurs on the return for Willowbrook.
So here's a question that I had for you, Michelle. The person for Willowbrook almost fumbled the ball into the
It'll be 1st
kick
down,
defense's
from their own
breadbasket.
39.
Would that be a fumble recovery? No. Okay.
Nope. If the receiver drops the ball, that's where the ball's dead.
Makes the handoff over the middle. Bad pass. Flag on the play. Or are they going to call legal shift on the Dolphins? I mean, sorry, on the Warriors. The Dolphins are clapping. Looks like it's coming back on Willowbrook.
Nina Lloyd on the coverage for Whitney Young. Flag on the play.
That's a big flag, partner, because the ball was originally at the 39, so they had 1st and 1. Now they have 1st and 11.
Yep.
Or 2nd 11.
Willowbrook's had a lot of going
Second and
backwards.
11.
They're going to need to tighten that
On
up.
their own 29.
One in motion. Over the middle. Dangerous pass up in the air. Tip drill, and it goes the way of the Dolphins. So no pick sixes in flag football?
You can. I think they had her flag.
Interception
Okay.
for Whitney Young.
I know you can get a pick six.
So they're going to call roughing the passer.
Oh, interesting call.
There's a flag on the play.
That saved Willowbrook big.
Roughing the passer against Whitney Young.
You can have a pick six. One of my players got one.
So
It's thrilling.
got to be careful. Once she gets rid of the ball, get away from the quarterback. Don't go after her flag after she's gotten rid of it. Controversial call. You didn't even see a lot of arguments from the Whitney Young end, so it must have been pretty blatant. How about this formation? They're all on the left side. Smurs, quarterback sneak, then a lateral. Oh my goodness, what a tackle. She was about to fall down and she just dove at the flag and somehow got it. Some of these girls are so athletic.
Janelle Adams, the ball carrier.
Yeah, it's not surprising. A lot of them come from playing other sports, soccer, lacrosse. We've had some on our team come from volleyball, softball. There's a lot of athletes out there.
Here comes the pressure. Couldn't get the flag. What a rocket by Smurs. And she's trying to make Whitney Young pay. They had the pick, but Whitney Young called for roughing the passer. And Smurs, who plays on both sides of the ball, making it happen.
If Willowbrook can keep this momentum, they'll get back in the end zone here.
3rd and 4. Can't run the ball, obviously, but you could do a little flip pass or a shovel pass.
3rd and 4.
Smurs with time. Now here comes the pressure. That one's picked. And it is not Smurs' night right now. She's a little bit off. That's the second time that she's blatantly overthrown her receiver.
And that looked like an easy catch for Whitney Young.
First down and 2.
Whitney Young's got to they got to hustle a little bit as they don't want to burn one of their timeouts.
Since it's the first half, I don't think they're too worried based on where the score is at about time. But it is always a factor in flag football.
Remember, getting out of bounds doesn't really affect the offense till we get to the 1 minute mark, so you're better off just going north and south because going east and west to get out of bounds doesn't stop the clock anyways.
Correct.
1st and 17.
Like I was saying before, a lot of these athletes are coming from other sports, and so sometimes they're used to that in their other sports, especially if they're coming from basketball, that running kind of back and forth, dancing in the backfield. It's hard to change that mentality.
1st and 17. Ball at the 43. Reading the armband is Petrillis. She's got time. Here comes the rush. In the flat. Still on her feet. Arm tackles aren't going to work. Then they finally get the flag near midfield. As the sideline judge says 49-yard line. Got to score 6, though. No field goals today. So still got a long way to go. And they'll probably just let this clock run to the 1 minute warning.
From the Willowbrook, 49.
Second and 9.
1 minute left in the half, 1 minute.
They've got the center, and then they're putting their right guard at the receiver spot. Petrillis in the pocket. Petrillis, not a great throw.
A little too deep.
Overshot a receiver. That stops the clock, though. 3rd and 9.
This would be a big stop for Willowbrook if they can make that happen.
3rd and 9 from the Willowbrook 49.
This is where it gets tough as a coach to decide if they don't make the first down. Do you keep going for it? Do you punt to get them deeper?
Because Smurs has been so shaky lately, I would trust my offense to convert.
Clock's going to be the big piece of this one.
So if you're Willowbrook, you probably want to call a timeout. Let's see who called it. Was it Willowbrook or Whitney Young?
They won't call it in the first half. In the second half, they'll care more about the clock.
I'm surprised. Well, the thing is, too, Smurs has been a little bit shaky. I don't know if you want her back on offense deep in your own territory.
With 30 seconds, yeah. It's not working.
Okay, yeah, I'm surprised why Whitney Young would call a timeout. Just let the clock run into halftime. Well, here's the good thing about flag football. You know, and in boys football, the punting game is always suspect because it could get blocked. It could be a bad snap. This or that could happen. What's cool about girls flag football, you just stay stagnant, so you don't have to worry about the block punt.
Yeah, in that sense, there's certainly less that can happen, but I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're not going for the tackles, and so the setup is to not have people running fast, so there isn't that injury on the flagpole.
4th and 6, ball at the 46. So for people that aren't familiar with the sport of flag football, if you call a timeout, if you originally said you wanted a punt, can you change your mind and go for it?
4th down. 4th and 6.
Yes.
Okay, so they changed their mind. They're going to go for it.
46.
Very aggressive, but I can understand the aggression here. No hard count flag football. So you're going to have to go for it. That's a false start. Oh, yeah, there's the hand up. Up in the air. It was incomplete anyways, but it sure looked like one of the Dolphins in Kayla Mitchell was offside. The hand, to the right for a legal shift.
Yeah, sometimes your energy just gets you going.
Illegal formation against Whitney Young.
They changed their mind. Illegal formation, obviously turnover on downs, so Willowbrook will, of course, decline it. It was very aggressive by Whitney Young, but because it was only 4th and 6 and because Petroulis has played a decent game, I can understand the aggression.
Well, and field position being, still Willowbrook is in their own, not on the Whitney Young side of the ball, or side of the 50, and then with 30 seconds, they've got quite a field to cover in just a short period of time.
So 1st and 14, ball at the 46. That's a legal shift or false start.
On the play, false start against Willowbrook.
Got to correct that at halftime. Way too many illegal shifts, too many false starts.
Lots of flags in this game for sure.
If you're Smurs, you got to be careful. You got to be able to read the safety. Do not want to throw a pick six here. And still on her feet. Nice run. They gave it to Adams.
Stopped by Kennedy Glover.
I'll give you rushing stats of Willowbrook at halftime, but it's a team a lot of people contribute, including Edison with 20. As that's another running play, and will Whitney Young let that go into the half? They will. 8-6 lead in favor of Willowbrook.
Yeah, we're going to go to the halftime. Again, these 6-minute halftimes seem extremely long compared to the regular season that was only a 2-minute halftime. So they definitely have time to make some adjustments on both sides, both teams.
Yeah, well, Willowbrook, they got to be happy. They're up 8-6, but at the same time, one too many false starts. Smurs was shaky. They're going to have to correct that because if Smurs throws another pick, Whitney Young is going to make them pay.
Willowbrook will start with the ball in the second half.
So we're going to take a break. It's 8-6 in favor of the Warriors here on NFHS Network.
The innocence of youth. Is there anything any better? But soon they'll be in high school and facing all the same challenges you faced. How to make friends, how to fit in, how to be cool. We want our children to have everything they'll need to live fulfilling and productive lives. Make sure the kids in your family are among the more than 12 million participants in America who take part in high school sports or activities.
High school sports fans, never miss another game. Become a subscriber to the NFHS Network to watch live event coverage, game replays, and highlights from high school sporting events from across the country. Millions of athletes, thousands of games, one destination, NFHSnetwork.com. We are high school. 8-6 lead. I'm Kyle Smith alongside Michelle Tantillo. It's 8:08 p.m., which means it's about time for the second half of the quarterfinal between the Warriors and the Whitney Young Dolphins. A little bit sloppy at the end of the first half, partner, and especially for Smurs. Some sloppy passes, interceptions, penalties galore. both teams have to clean it up going into the second half.
Yeah, I agree. They have a little bit of time here still left in the halftime to make those adjustments. And again, Willowbrook will start with the ball, so we'll see how they can march it down or not, and kind of the response from the defense on both sides.
If you're just joining us, Whitney Young went the length of the field. Ball starts at the 20-yard line in flag football. They went 80 yards. And then answering were the Willowbrook Warriors. They went 80 yards, and then a 2-point conversion that was a little bit high. Looked like it was going to be dropped, went off the fingertips, and then was caught in the back of the end zone. That's where we stand right now, 8-6, as Whitney Young could not convert on their 2-point attempt. It might be a low-scoring game. We'll tell you in a minute how both teams got here. But Willowbrook, they did win in one of their sectionals 16-0. So they're familiar with this type of game for Whitney Young. They're on the road. It's a pretty far drive from Whitney Young to Willowbrook, but you got to find a way to get it done. Otherwise, your season's over tonight.
Yeah, I've seen some teams come out hot playing. Some teams need a half to warm up. That was kind of maybe the warm up for both these teams. So we might be able to get that second half a little bit more ramped up because the game is fast. We're already in the second half before the teams really even get going and setting a rhythm. And so hopefully that will be a more exciting second half.
Whitney Young, their offense has been very good, especially in the two regional games. They scored 40 and 42 points respectively. Then in the sectional, they beat Lyons Township 29-14 and then 24-6 over King. For Willowbrook, they've been very good. They've won 5 in a row coming into this high-flying offense. They scored 42 against Proviso East, 42 against Elgin, and that 16-0 win was in the round of 16 against West Aurora. But Smurs, she had 4 interceptions on defense in that game, has to avoid interceptions, throwing them for the Warriors if they're going to advance to the semifinals.
Yeah, and I think that's just a matter of making sure that they're communicating on offense, and then obviously Whitney Young was responding well on defense. And so if Willowbrook can tighten that up, they're going to get back in the end zone.
So we're going to take a 30-second break and more Willowbrook against Whitney Young action coming up next here on NFHS Network. So here we go, second half about to start as the clock starts. Willowbrook has it in the second half. Kyle Smith alongside Michelle Tantillo. And then they stopped the clock. They had it started, but they're going to go back to 20 minutes as the refs weren't ready to start it there.
Fan energy is definitely high on both sides here. Cheerleaders for Whitney Young and the home team. Willowbrook hosting IHSA quarterfinals.
Winner advances to tomorrow's semis. Loser, you get orange slices and juice boxes, but that's it. Season's over. One in motion. Clean pocket. Here comes the pressure now. Did not get the flag, but there is a flag on the field, as it could be guarding the flag against the offense.
There's a flag on the
It's
play.
holding on the defense.
Oh, wow, so they're going to call it holding the quarterback. And a break for the Warriors.
Flag against Whitney Young.
Chippy game. We saw an inadvertent tackle. Seen some penalties in terms of guarding the flag and holding.
You can tell these are teams that have played before. These are athletes who have played this sport.
As Willowbrook talking to the ref about what happened, what my quarterback has to look out for. So where's the ball going, guys? Should be going forward because it was against the defense. And here we go. Spotted at the 25. Might be a low-scoring game. Next touchdown might win it. The way that we've seen so many flags and sloppy play, interceptions galore.
2nd and 16.
Smurs, here comes the pressure. Smurs over the middle and got the flag.
Spurs pass complete.
And what's interesting about flag football, you know, when I used to play, everybody had yellow flags, but they have different colors on the field, which is kind of nice.
Yeah. We usually try to have different color flags for the team, so then you can kind of tell if the flag just fell off someone or if it's the team for the
3rd and 12, dangerous pass.
that you're actually going for the pull. Yeah, inadvertent contact there.
As it was almost picked off by Nina Lloyd.
Liz Pettinger, incomplete.
I don't know. They're going to have to find a way to get Smurs into a rhythm. Quick passes, screen pass, something, because the long passes, the fly route, the post, not working right now. And that was almost another pick that Smurs threw. 3rd and 12. One in motion. Smurs, here comes the pressure. Over the middle, not even close. And 4th and 12, going to have to punt.
Yeah, the teams look a little flat. I wonder if it's because of the later games, the fact that we're going a little deeper into the evening.
4th and 12.
You know, they're students as well, so they've been busy all day long and now coming out here.
Back deep to punt for Willowbrook, Jada Langston.
Langston deep for the Dolphins. Looking for a good punt here if you're a Willowbrook fan. Not a good one. One hops right into the breadbasket. And really smart move. She knew she was going to get tackled, but she pushed the ball forward to get another yard, spot the ball closer towards the end zone. You're right, Michelle. It's obvious both of these teams have played flag football before. When they know they're going to get tackled / the flag get taken, they try to push the ball forward to get more yardage. 1st and 6, because remember, normal 1st and 20 is at the 20s and the 40s.
Correct.
Almost a false start, but they were able to get the snap off. High throw and catch, and inside the 40. Goes behind, and Willowbrook is arguing that it was not stagnant blocking. I don't think they moved. I think it was a good no call by the ref.
I agree.
1st down, Whitney Young.
And knowing how this game is going, both offenses struggling. If you're Whitney Young, you definitely don't have to go into a no-huddle look because this might be the last time you have a chance to score a touchdown.
Yeah, big pickup of a 1st down here for Whitney Young.
1st and 17, got to get to the 20. Still on her feet, and then she isn't, as she's tackled at the 31.
We've seen that play a few times from Whitney Young. Willowbrook is yet to knock that ball out of the way, and so
2nd and 11.
Whitney Young just keeps moving forward.
They're just going to take their time because they know Willowbrook has struggled offensively. And if you're Willowbrook, you might have to consider going into a no-huddle look, change things up a bit. Terrible snap. Somehow Petrulis maintains her composure with a nice pass. As that's the thing, partner, when you have bad snaps like that, that's when the blitz can work because it allows the defense more time to get to the quarterback.
Right, but because they're starting from far back, they have to know that ahead of time. They won't know what that snap looks like. So it's all hit or miss.
1st and 19, Whitney Young continues to just Played safe with some throws over the middle. Just taking their time. Looking at the armband is Petroulis. As it's 6 wide receivers. Now the center. Oh, dangerous pass. That's the one thing, partner, you got to avoid. If you're going to throw it to the sideline, you got to put zip on that ball, because if it's a small, soft throw, that's going to be a pick six the other way.
It's like that for really any throw. You got to make sure that you get the ball exactly where it needs to be for your receiver to catch it.
2nd and 19. Even though they're only down 2, no field goal kickers tonight. They got to get the 6.
Yeah, and they've got only a few more plays to get there.
Would love to get to the 10 to make it a 3rd and manageable. Do not bite on the double move if you're Willowbrook. Takes the handoff. Petroulis, she's got a woman. Bad throw. That's the one thing that's tough about a zone look, Michelle, is you think you have a woman open, but you got to be careful, because if you put it too low, it's picked off by the linebacker.
Yeah, that one also looked like the route wasn't run either how it was called or miscommunication.
From the Willowbrook, 19.
3rd and goal. Got to get to the 10 to help out your quarterback. 4 down territory, obviously, but you don't have to get it all in one play. Here comes the pressure, rolling outside the pocket. Oh, great play. She knew it was going to get picked off, Michelle, so she knocked it away to avoid the pick.
Mm-hmm. You got to play a little defense sometimes when you're on offense.
4th and goal, the ball has to be in the end zone here, Michelle. What do you want to run if you're on offense here?
Going to have to be deep. Somebody needs to be standing in that end zone when they catch that ball.
It's a pseudo Hail Mary. It's 19 yards. What's good about flag football is every D lineman has to be 7 yards back of the line of scrimmage. So
and they are all lined up there, so you don't know if any of them are going to blitz or if none of them are going to blitz. It would be crazy to send all of them back there, but the question is who might come.
You got to get the ball off in 7 seconds. Petroulis. Here comes the pressure. Petroulis completed, and a flag on the play.
Pass complete to Didi.
See what they call here. Are they going to call offensive pass interference or holding against the defense? She definitely got separation, but was it legal separation?
Holding.
And just Whitney Young's killing themselves with these penalties.
Leo block against Whitney Young.
Wow. Well, if it's a legal block, wouldn't that, if it's 4th down, that'd be turnover on downs, right?
Yep.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Decline.
I like that, though. Look, when you're a ref, and there's a story I'll tell you about later on in the game, but something like that, you got to make sure you get the call right. The fans want you to continuously go, hey, let's speed up the game. You got to make sure you get the call right and make sure it's turnover on downs, because if you don't and you give an untimed down to Whitney Young, that's not what you want.
Yeah, but if you look at how much time was lost in the clock, this is where it hurts when the clock is running and the refs are taking their time.
Yeah.
You want them to do the right thing, but you also want that clock for the plays, not for the refs.
1st and 14 at their own 5. Smurs right on target. Still on her feet. And where are they going to spot it? Willowbrook pumped up. As Guzman with the reception. They're going to spot at the 25. It'll be 1st and 15.
From their own 25.
It's only 1st and 20 when you get to the 20s and 40s. Makes it so interesting, and that's what you got to be thinking about on defense, which I'm sure they do because they've been playing all year. But I'm sure like the first couple of games, you're like, oh, it's 1st and 20 at the 25. No, it's not. It's only 1st and 15.
I don't think people are looking too much about like the how many yards to get there. It's just where do they not need to pass. In
Over
this
the
game,
middle.
They just earned that 1st down, and so that would be a place where Whitney Young would be in a better position if they were, I guess, more aware of that 40-yard.
What's so great about flag football, you can't just run the ball to run the clock. You still have to pass the ball.
Correct.
it makes it so hard to just, run teams out of the building. Fakes the lateral, did Smurs, but they do get her flag near the 44.
Yeah, on the last play, Whitney Young was looking for a flag blocking call, and so Willowbrook better be careful.
Second down. Second and 16.
If you're the Warriors, you score a touchdown and you get the 1-point conversion, game's pretty much over because it'd be a 2-possession lead. One in motion. Drop-off pass. And I'm not sure why she's frustrated. It was right on target. If she catches that, she had room to run down the sideline.
Hamilton on the coverage for Whitney Young.
3rd and 16.
Whitney Young's doing a good job holding here. If they can get Willowbrook to get stuck here.
One in motion. Down the middle, completed. And they're going to spot it at the 43. 3 yards short.
First pass complete to Liz Pettinger.
One of her favorite targets.
Line on the stop for Whitney Young.
4th and 3. Partner, I would consider punting. I know that you want to keep the clock moving.
No.
I don't want to give Whitney Young good field position. They're going to go for it. Here comes the pressure, and that's why. I don't want to give an offense that's starting to click in Whitney Young. I would have punted, try to pin him inside the 20.
No. We've seen what the punt looked like last time. That wasn't really super helpful. And so to conserve the clock, this actually did make sense. Willowbrook's shown some strength on defense, and so they can hopefully get this turnover here.
From their own 43.
Plenty of time for Whitney Young. Got to go 57 yards. One of the few low-scoring games we've had in the postseason. Completed. We just had these awkward completions. How was that caught? And then in the previous game, the 4th and 28 conversion. But, we talked about the officials getting it right. I still think about that Fenwick Plainfield North game where the officials accidentally gave Plainfield North an untimed down. They kicked the game-tying field goal, and then they won in overtime to go to the championship. There were a lot of Fenwick fans and alums that weren't happy about that.
Yeah, the girls are able to catch a little differently than the boys because of the gear in the flag. They don't have all the shoulder pads, so what looks like something that would maybe not be catchable with someone wearing shoulder pads is quite catchable for someone just in flags.
2nd and 2 over the middle. And it was completed that time to Dudley, the 82-catch woman herself.
Yeah, Willowbrook's needed him to slow Whitney Young down here.
It's back to the question we've asked you in the previous 2 broadcasts. I know you're going to say no, but once this ball gets close to the 20, Willowbrook has to consider, do we let them score to get the ball back quicker?
Nope, answer's always no. I'll say that all day, all season.
Ball at the 31, 1st and 11. Here comes the reverse.
Double reverse. Got him in the back.
See, I wish teams wouldn't run that. The problem with the double reverse, you get somebody out in space, but you don't get blockers. It works in regular football because you have blockers out in front. Here, you're going against 4 different defenders.
Yeah, but if you have enough misdirection, since you're only trying to pull 7 people off in flag football, it could work if they are all misled.
Right. If you stay within your gaps, it's never going to work. And most of these teams are well disciplined, and we've seen tonight they're staying within their gaps and they're not getting overextended on the defensive ends. 2nd and 14, ball at the 34. Plenty of time for Whitney Young. Not a great snap. Here comes the pressure over the middle. And remember, in high school, once your knee goes down, you're automatically down. It's not like college or the NFL where you can get back up.
They had the flag there, though, too.
See what they call here. Did she push off for offensive pass interference? Or did you say her flag came off, not a penalty flag?
No, I'm sorry. They pulled the flag at the same time her knee went down. Sorry.
That's okay.
Not a red flag.
Okay, because that's a penalty flag would be huge. 3rd and 7, ball at the 27. Got to get a good snap here. They do. Here comes the pressure. Petroulis shakes it off, but they say they got her flag.
Yep. That was a sack for sure.
Goes to the sideline. Decision time for Whitney Young. Do you want to go for it, or do you just let the clock run to get 5 yards deeper so you get an easier punt for your punter?
You're not going to punt on this one. It's 4th down. They're going to go for it.
Probably.
They would have had to already call punt.
You could have run a delay a game and then getting 5 yards back to help out your punter, but
I know, but they didn't call a punt within the first 25
that's
seconds,
right.
so they couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Yep.
4th and 13. Don't let the receiver get behind you. Don't bite on the double move. Timeout. We're going to take a quick timeout as well. Timeout called by the Dolphins. You're watching the Dolphins against the Warriors here on NFHS Network.
Presenting sponsor for the IHSA girls flag
Truthfully,
football.
this wouldn't be
Fourth down.
makes total sense here that Whitney Young's going to go for it instead of punt.
Got to get to the 20 or better. Petrulis behind her center. Here comes the pressure. How about that? She can run with it if she wants to. Can she get to the 20? I don't think she got it. Let's see where the flag was taken out. Whitney Young says they got it.
Yep.
Keeper for Whitney Young.
Man, what a friendly spot that is.
First down, Whitney Young. That'll be first and goal.
It's so hard, partner, you know, like, oh, she's coming right at me. All I got to do is get the flag, but it's so hard to push that flag downwards before she gets to the 20-yard line.
It's not as easy as it looks, and lots of jammed fingers, lots of broken fingers. It's way harder to go for these flags than you think. That's why you always got to go in with 2 hands.
Clean pocket for Petrulis over the middle. Eyeing the goal line. Touchdown, Dolphins!
I think flags were pulled first, so she's going to be down a little outside of the end zone.
Leonardo with the stop for Willowbrook. Second and goal.
Going to be second and goal at the 4.
4-yard line.
Fans getting into it. They're stomping and getting excited on the bleachers. Up for grabs. Almost picked off. A lot of time wasted for Willowbrook. I think you're all. I think you're right though, Michelle. I think you're all in on Willowbrook. You're not going to let them score. You're going to try to get a goal line stand.
Yeah.
Whitney Young calls their last time out, so if they don't score here, Willowbrook can just get 1 first down and then take a knee, assuming that Whitney Young doesn't score here on the 2nd and 4.
They're going to have to take a few knees just based on time. They have 25 seconds for that play, and then they'll reset. So.
Are you surprised how low scoring this one is? This was our game of the week.
No, very strong defenses, definitely low score.
And let's cheer on those incredible teams.
Today's game is available for download. Click the digital copy button under the event video player to download a digital copy of the event right to your computer. It'll be 3rd and goal at the 4. Cannot run it because it's 3rd and goal at the 4. If it was 3rd and goal at the 6, you could.
Yeah, now that they entered the no run, even if they get backed up, they're still going to be only pass.
But you can do an underhand pass, a flip pass, or a shovel pass. Anything quick you can still do.
Anything forward.
Clean pocket for Petrulis. Here comes the pressure. Touchdown.
Yep. Those short little passes right into the end zone like that are very hard to defend.
Petrola's pass complete.
And now if you're Whitney Young, the strategy would be just waste as much time as you can. You don't even really care about the conversion. You really just care about the clock.
Correct. They unfortunately, I guess, or fortunately, only have one play to waste some time on. So as soon as the ball is spotted, they'll have 25 seconds to run a play.
If there's a delay of game, do you still have to run a conversion play, or does it just become Willowbrook ball? If you let's say you didn't want to snap it, you just want to run clock here.
No, if there's a flag, you can be backed up and still run it. They won't let you do that indefinitely, though.
First and nothing. It's a conversion. Ball at the 5. Clean pocket for Petrolis over the middle. 50-50 ball. Who got it? And they say Whitney Young wins it.
Yep.
Conversion. 14-8. Time running out for this awesome season for the Warriors.
It's going to be 13-8. They
oh,
were
that's
going
right.
From
They were
the
at
5, 1 point.
I'm so used to them at the 8. The one time that I wasn't ready at the 5, they did it. They didn't really care. They just wanted to waste time.
Exactly.
From their own 20.
We'll see here if Willowbrook can manage time. If Whitney Young can hold strong. 1 minute warnings coming soon.
Officials got to be on their game to spot balls quickly. Smurs. Dangerous ball picked off. At the 40. At the 30. One woman to beat. Hesitation move, and that should do it. It was picked off by Nina Loy. Well, we could kind of see that coming. Since the end of the first half, Smurs has been off her game.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you get rattled like that, sometimes it's really hard to get back on game. And
1 minute left in our game.
Willowbrook can't be upset about their season by any means, though.
It'll be first and goal, Whitney Young.
You know, football, it's a very complicated game, but sometimes it can be simplified to the point of who had the better quarterback. Well, Whitney Young did today.
Or who got the flag pulls. Willowbrook missed quite a few, which only helped Whitney Young as well.
Might be unsportsmanlike against Whitney Young or a block in the back. Well, we're going to call it on Willowbrook. Defense did their job, Michelle. They only gave up 13 points. You just can't win many flag football games when you only score 8.
Yep. Yeah, it's both offense and defense.
Well, this is one that Smurs is going to think about. Tough pill to swallow, but that's the postseason. There's got to be a winner and a loser. For every Tom Brady story, there's a Tony Romo story of him dropping the ball on the PAT attempt. And for all you Cleveland fans out there, I apologize, but just one reference, the fumble in Red Right 88. That's part of the postseason. That's why we love it, and that's why it can be heartbreaking.
Well, and soon for every one tackle football story, there's going to be a flag football story.
Just don't turn the ball over if you're Whitney Young. You're just going to run the ball. Probably did that on purpose to keep the clock running. Does a fumble stop the clock, Michelle?
Yep.
Okay. So they didn't do it on purpose then, because it was running and then it stopped. You just want to stay in bounds and don't fumble the ball. That's what they're talking about. They might have to reset that to 50. It looked like it was at 50 seconds, and then they restarted the clock.
Because the clock operator is so used to just being running clock, in that 1 minute it gets really dicey to stop and start and stop and start. So there's been a lot of corrections, which totally makes sense. But I'm glad that the refs are adjusting as needed.
Second down.
Handoff, and it's to Dudley. She can do everything, not just catch.
Dudley, the ball carrier.
One thing about flag football, there are no fumbles, so in boys football, you can try to punch that ball out to get one more possession. Can't do it in flag. So for Willowbrook, you're just hoping for a miracle.
go for the interception and run it down too, but they seem to be Whitney Young knowing, let's just run the ball.
Lane Tech champions versus Rockford Guilford.
Last game, can Rockford Guilford continue their undefeated season? It'll be Rockford Guilford against Lane Tech, the champions. Will they be the champions of the first ever state flag football?
3rd and goal for Whitney Young.
3rd and goal at the 34.
34.
Just don't throw a pick. Probably just going to be a little drop-off pass.
Just a run. There's no reason to throw the ball. They can run every single play. There's no reason.
Timeout, Willowbrook.
Well, Willowbrook, good clock management. They saved their timeouts till the end.
Yeah, I don't know if it will be enough. 38 seconds.
It's not Smurs' day. Look, you win with your quarterback, you lose with your quarterback. But would you consider going to Medinger since Smurs just doesn't have it right now?
No. You wouldn't change what's going on. That would have been a change that would have had to happen earlier.
Would have had to happen at halftime. If you're just wondering her stats for Medinger, 56 of 98, 57.1 completion percentage. Has a better QB rating of 122. But the hottest quarterback, arguably, in the tournament was Smurs. She just didn't have it tonight, at least not right now.
Right, and the question is, I don't even know if the other quarterback is healthy, right?
Right. We've seen her at wide receiver, but playing wide receiver and quarterback, two different positions.
Correct, if there's something with her arm.
Fourth and goal for Whitney Young from the Willowbrook, 32.
You surprised they're not punting?
No, with 38 seconds, all the way on this side of the field, no. Unlike tackle football, there's no reason to get people that close to the end zone and back them up. It doesn't help.
I mean, you don't have to try for a touchdown here. You can just throw it out of bounds and be conservative, or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, they just need to run out the clock.
4th down, so if they don't score a touchdown, Willowbrook would get the ball back.
But Willowbrook is done with timeouts, so the clock is going.
Right. Only way they can stop the clock is with a 1st down and then spike it quickly. Meanwhile, 4th and 12. Clean pocket. Petrillis over the middle. Able to get the flag. And with 32 seconds left, Smurs in the offense has one more chance.
Willowbrook will take over on downs with 32 seconds left.
They'll have one or two plays here.
How much have they been practicing the 2-minute offense? Can they get the ball to the 40 and spike it quickly?
Yeah, this isn't 2 minutes, though. This is 32 seconds.
Right. Crazier things have happened in the game of football. Nice pass. Got to get out of bounds. Where was the flag? 39. So you got to spike now or just run a play, but you can't waste any clock. 16 seconds. What do they want to do? They're just going to run a play. See, that wasted so much time. You might as well just run a play then.
They have to get everybody on the line, otherwise they're going to back up.
Yeah, true. So that's the problem. I mean, you see it in the pros. You go under center and spike it. 2nd and 20. You have time for maybe 2 plays, but this is probably the last play of the game.
Absolutely.
Smurs over the middle, picked. Whitney Young is going to the state semifinals. They didn't have a lot offensively, but they got enough to advance to the semis.
Yeah, it hurts when you're at home on your own field and you lose, especially in a big game like this. You know.
3 picks for Smurs.
Yeah, this is salt in the wound, though, that the fact that there's still time on the clock.
It always stinks when you know you can't stop the victory formation. There it is,
Whitney
and that'll
Young
do
will
it.
down the ball.
Congratulations to the Dolphins. It wasn't pretty. A lot of flags,
Dolphins, 13.
a lot of false starts and illegal shifts, but they found a way to get it done. For Willowbrook, they picked a wrong time to struggle offensively.
Congratulations
Yeah.
to the Willowbrook
It's a matter of
Warriors
when
for a
you are
great
hot,
season.
when your team's
And
cold.
Congratulations to Whitney Young.
So congratulations to the
We'll continue
Dolphins.
on
That does it for our
tomorrow.
third game of the quadruple header. And by the way, before we end this broadcast, Michelle, who was your player of the game for the Dolphins?
Ooh, I don't know if I have a player of the game. I think they worked well together as a team. Their quarterback certainly was able to do some big things.
So just a team effort.
Who was yours?
I go with Petrulis. She wasn't fantastic, but she did enough. Managed the offense. Good game manager. Hayden Petrulis, the sophomore quarterback, as her Dolphins are going to the state semifinals. Don't go anywhere. The fourth game of our quadruple header of the IHSA quarterfinals coming up next here on the NFHS Network.